The unlucky birth, Sophocles' tragic vision in Oedipus at Colonus. The best for man. One of the most searing expressions of pessimism in Western literature comes from the chorus of Sophocles' final tragedy, Oedipus at Colonus. The best for man were not to have been born and not to have seen the light of the sun. But if once born, the second best for him is to pass through the gates of death as speedily as may be. This bleak pronouncement is not a casual despair, but a crystallized philosophical stance embedded in the heart of Greek tragedy. Attributed to Sophocles in his old age, the quote transcends the immediate suffering of the play's blinded protagonist to articulate a universal tragic principle, that existence itself is a curse, non-existence the highest blessing, and swift death the next best alternative. In essence, it distills a worldview where human life is fundamentally defined by inescapable suffering, and the only true mercies are never to arrive or to depart quickly. To understand the depth of this sentiment, one must first appreciate its context within the Theban cycle and the specific moment of its utterance. Oedipus at Colonus presents an aged, exiled Oedipus, a man who has fulfilled the most horrific prophecies, killing his father and marrying his mother, and has endured years of wandering and anguish. When the chorus of local elders, confronting this living emblem of catastrophe, sings these lines, they are reflecting not only on Oedipus's specific fate, but on the human condition his story exemplifies. The unlucky birth they reference is both Oedipus's literal, prophesied birth and a metaphor for the inherent misfortune of being born into a world governed by capricious gods, immutable fate, Moira, and human fragility, 8. The chorus articulates a foundational tragic truth, that to be human is to be subject to forces beyond one's control, where suffering is not an exception but an inevitable consequence of consciousness and life itself. The philosophical resonance of the quote extends beyond the immediate drama into the broader currents of ancient Greek thought. While not representing the entirety of Greek philosophy, which also celebrated reason, civic virtue, and the beauty of life, this strain of profound pessimism surfaces repeatedly in archaic and classical literature. It echoes the wisdom of the earlier poet Theognis, who wrote, "Best of all for mortals is never to be born at all," and finds parallels in the mythological figure of Silenus, who, when captured, told King Midas that the greatest good for humans was unattainable, never to have been born. For Sophocles, this is not nihilism for its own sake, but a clear-eyed recognition of reality. In a world where happiness is fleeting, where the gods can be cruel or indifferent, and where the greatest of heroes can be brought low by a single error or prophecy, the chorus's judgment becomes a logical conclusion. The second best option of a swift death is thus a release, a return to non-being that spares one the protracted anguish that defines a life like Oedipus's. Ultimately, Sophocles' grim calculus serves a specific tragic and cathartic purpose. By voicing the extreme viewpoint that non-existence is preferable to life, the play does not necessarily advocate for despair, but instead establishes the stark baseline of suffering against which human endurance and dignity are measured. Oedipus himself, despite being the archetype of the unluckily born, does not seek a swift death after his crimes. Instead, he endures, wanders, and, by the play's end, achieves a mysterious sacred transformation and apotheosis. This suggests a complex tension. While the chorus states the abstract, pessimistic rule, the drama explores the exception. The tragedy acknowledges the profound weight of suffering that justifies the sentiment not to have been born, yet it also dramatizes the stubborn, painful, and sometimes sacred journey of those who are born nonetheless. In conclusion, the famous lament from Oedipus at Colonus stands as one of the most powerful and unambiguous declarations of tragic pessimism. Sophocles, through his chorus, frames human life not as a gift, but as an affliction, where the light of the sun illuminates only a path of inevitable pain. This perspective, rooted in the concepts of fate and the unlucky birth, offers a sober counterpoint to more optimistic worldviews. Yet, embedded within the very tragedy that gives it voice, the quote becomes part of a deeper exploration. It acknowledges the curse of existence, while simultaneously setting the stage for a meditation on how meaning and even transcendence can be wrought from a life that, by its very nature, would have been better never begun.